Social researcher and the 2016 Mandela Washington Fellow Mondli Zondo has written an interesting opinion piece on Daily Maverick about poverty and social grants. He believes that social grants should be taking the youth out of poverty and not making them dependent on the state. Zondo says government has a duty to ensure that citizens live lives of value and that they should be driving the country's progress. Well, to explain some of his views, he joins us now via Skype for a discussion this morning. Mondli, good morning, and thank you very much for your time. Your opinion piece is premised on your own life experience. Can you just briefly share with us this morning how social grants were used to make sure that you had a better life?
Well, good morning, Buyu, and good morning to the viewers. Well, you're absolutely right. As I say in my article, I wrote this article because I am the beneficiary of a social grant, former beneficiary rather. I was on a foster care grant after my mother passed away when I was 12. And then my late aunt used this grant to supplement her own income to provide a better life for me. She enrolled me into a good boarding school, and she provided all the other needs a child needs when growing up. Now, it's important for me to I can't overstate the importance of that grant, because my aunt wouldn't have been able to provide me with this education without it. She could have enrolled me at a school that was not as facilitated, that didn't have as good teachers as the school that she enrolled me in. And so it played a really important role in who I am today. And now I stand here as somebody who's no longer reliant on a grant. I'm employed, I'm standing on my own 2 feet. And so it's important for me to advocate for more social spending on children who needed children without parents, like I once was, but also to make sure that we can get them out like I am now. Because as I say
now, Mondli, your aunt saw that she could use the social grant in a particular way, but many people might be relying on social grants for everything: food on the table, transport, and not just to be able to educate their children. How do you propose that those kind of people then use a social grant in a way that you have experienced?
Well, I acknowledge this in the article, that not every child out there is as fortunate as I was to have a relative who was just able to use the grant to supplement another income she already has. So this is a complex question, and there are no easy or cheap answers to it. I think it's about doing more than one thing right at a time instead of doing one thing at a time. It's because right now government is of the belief that by providing grants they are alleviating poverty, and that's not completely true. What government needs to do is to provide the grants, but also to do what my aunt did, which is to supplement the grants, to support the grants. And you do that by having a proper education system for children living in township and rural areas who are most dependent on these grants. And right now there's a huge disparity between public education, between those in affluent schools and those in township and rural schools. So education is, I list education because that was what my aunt was able to provide for me. So once government can get that right, and also get right the unemployment question in terms of the parents of these children, or the family members who are the guardians of these children, so that they too can end up being able to support these kids in other ways. So it's not just about providing a grant, it's about supporting, it's about adding additional support mechanisms to the grant.
Now, we know we have a huge unemployment factor and rate in the country, rather 27.7% according to the recent statistics, and half of those are young people. Do you think the awarding of social grants by government should also be linked to the education of the young people, or the skilling of the young people? I'm just thinking aloud here. I don't know how it all works, but are you thinking that perhaps the government should be saying, if you are of this age as a young person, you are youth, let's say between 16 and 24, and you're getting some grant, you should also be enrolled in some form of a skills development project which government will subsidize?
Yes, that's completely true. That is the line along which I was thinking. It's not enough to just simply give a grant to people, because as I state in my article, we've got 33% of the population dependent on grants. We spend 10 billion rand on social grants. It's unsustainable in the long term. And so a while back, I wrote an article on how government can actually make better use of something called community work programs. It's a localized version of the extended public works programs. So at the moment, government runs these programs and then pays members of the communities to do whatever work there is to do in the community. And once again, to me, that is just a continuation of this trend of people being reliant on the state. What the state should rather do is something similar to what is done with the school nutrition program, where the public is invited to bid, and then tenders are awarded, and then ordinary South Africans run these programs, these feeding programs in schools. They employ members of communities to work on these programs. So the community work programs should work in a similar fashion. We should have the communities themselves, people who are unemployed, people who are raising their children through grants, running these programs, employing each other in communities, linking up with satellite campuses near where they live so that they can get training in things like business management and cooperative governance, so that they can eventually be able to sustain themselves, to create employment and contribute to the progress of this country, as opposed to the situation where we're creating a castle where people are becoming permanently dependent on the state. And it's abnormal to have citizens permanently dependent on a state in any country.
Well, Mondli, you make a very good argument there. Hopefully some people are listening that social grants should not be a state of being, but a means to an end. That's social researcher and 2016 Mandela Washington Fellow Mondli Zondo.